After nearly 3 years of owning a Jeanneau Merry Fisher or NC 1095, what are the options that we love? What are the options that we hate? What are the options that we wish we had? I'm Dave, a former dive boat captain with an expired Coast Guard license, relearning everything I know about boating and sharing that on Echo Zulu Cruising, where we help boaters find a boat, use the boat, and enjoy time on the water. Whether you have a Jeanneau Merry Fisher or any other boat, our experience can help you picture the options and how they could fit on your dream boat. We're going to show you different Jeanneau 1095s, how they're set up, how some of the options are different, so you can make better decisions for yourself. I want to thank Dunbar Yachts in St. Simon Island for sharing these 1095s with us. It allows us to compare our boat to other boats and think about what are the options that we could have gotten, what are the options we wish we had, what are the things we may modify on our boat because we see someone else has them and we wish we had them too. My wife Alicia and I bought our Jeanneau Merry Fisher or NC 1095 to take trips to the Bahamas or through the Intracoastal Waterway together, or to go on day trips or beach trips to Cumberland Island or around Amelia Island or Fernandina Beach where we live. There are so many options, and in a lot of ways the options you choose are a reflection of your priorities and what you want to do on board. So you want to think through those before you get your boat so you can maximize it after you have it. For us, we knew one, we wanted to be able to take longer trips, to be able to go to the Bahamas or longer overnight trips on the Intracoastal Waterway, whether that's in a marina or anchored out. But we also wanted to be able to share it with our kids, go to the beach and get close to that and spend time with family and friends on board. So we wanted the versatility of something we could get close as well as do longer trips. Your list and your priorities may be different, so hopefully we can show you some of the options and you can think through really what do you want to do on board. So what are the options that are right for you, whether it's on a Jeanneau or another boat. Looking at different options helps you think and picture what you could do on your boat. From working as a boat captain, safety has always been the first thing I think of on the boat. How do we keep myself and other people safe? There are items that are options on a lot of boats that we view as necessity.
These 4 safety options can all be seen on the roof of your boat.
They're options regardless of your boat. We highly recommend depending on the boating you're going to do. The first piece of equipment is a powerful VHF. We have a handheld VHF on board. We use that for the dinghy and it has a range of about 3 to 8 miles, so it's a nice piece of equipment. But what we really want to make sure we have on the boat, it's the VHF with the antenna, more power. That has a 15 to 20 mile range that allows us to extend that. A cell phone is not going to get you the coverage if you're offshore. You really want to have that coverage when you need it most. All these pieces of safety equipment aren't for what you plan on, they're for the things you don't plan. It's been very interesting to see is how the different radios are mounted depending on if it's factory, if it's installed later. It's something to think about that we didn't think about at all. For us, this is a factory installed. The radio comes with a mic cord where it can hang down in front of the door. We've installed this hook so it can get up out of the way.
On this blue-hulled 2023 1095 with gray Yamaha engines, the radio was installed by the dealer after delivery. It's a little bit further aft, right next to the speaker, allowing the cord to be out of the way of the helm door to the side gangway. This 2022 1095 has the blue hull. It has a bow pulpit at the anchor so you can jump off the water more easily. There's speakers up on the bow area, and it has the white 300 Yamahas. Other than that, very similar to our boat. The Garmin VHF on this boat is in the factory installed position, but in this case, the mic clip is forward and is looped over the mic, moving the cord out of the way of the helm door.
It's something you can think about on your boat of how would you handle it. If it comes factory installed where the Jeanneau has put the boat, you just get that little hook and it gets it out of the way. If it's installed somewhere else, think about where that mic cord's gonna hang. Another option that we view as a necessity is the spotlight. Spotlight is something that in the evening you can have to light up and illuminate when you're going in the waterway. And a lot of people say, I don't plan on being out at night, but that's the key word. You don't plan on it, and sometimes this happens. So having the spotlight gives you some more versatility. It's another safety option so that if you're navigating in the evening, you're able to illuminate the waterway, you're able to check for other boats, and other people can see you.
One of the 1095s we looked at had a fixed LED light that has both a wide setting and a narrow setting. This LED light is brighter than the stock light that comes on the 1095 and is going on my list of potential upgrades for sweetest thing.
And another boring piece of safety gear that we think is real important, It's the horn. You want to have the horn so when people aren't paying any attention on their VHF, you have that as a signal device. Every boat's required to have a noise-making device. You might as well have it mounted and powerful enough for people to hear. But remember, when you're passing someone, one short blast means you're gonna pass them to starboard on your port, one syllable, port. And if you use two blasts, you're gonna pass them on your starboard, their port. So one blast, your port, two blasts, your starboard. It's a way to communicate with other vessels. It's a safety device, so you want to have it just in case. Finally, the option we view as a safety necessity, it's the radar. It's really dependent on how you're going to use the boat, on how important the radar is. When I worked on the dive boat in the Keys, which was all day trips, we didn't have a radar. We went in and out, everything was line of sight, and we navigated fine. But when I worked on the liveaboard in the Bahamas, the radar was a necessity. We ran at night, we had to track weather, we wanted the proximity alarms whenever we were anchored out. It gives a lot of versatility having the radar on board. It allows you to check for boats that don't have AIS. The AIS also shows up on the chart plotter. It allows you to check the weather and the short line in the evening. Much like the light, people say, I don't plan on running the boat at night. There's gonna be a lot of times on the water when the things you don't plan happen. So you wanna have any option or tool at your disposal to make your trip as enjoyable as possible and recover when something does go wrong. These 4 safety items on the Jeanneau 1095, they're not the most exciting thing, but they're a real necessity to really make sure you're gonna be safe on board, but they're just the start. To make the boat livable, there's 3 really important options to take a look at. We're on board a brand new 2024 Jeanneau 1095. It's not fully commissioned. It's got all the cushions in the plastic. It has some chance to show some of the differences in contrast on materials, but it also doesn't have all my crap on board. So we can show what some of the layout looks like, some of the options on board. The first of 3 options, in our opinion, that make the Jeanneau 1095 really livable are the cabinets in the salon. It gives you the storage to have plenty of food, provisions for a longer trip. We like to go to the Bahamas, longer trips on the intercoastal, or if we're just running overnight, we just have everything we need right on board. There's great storage, but without those cabinets, you really lose a lot of that storage and organization for your provisions. So number 1, galley cabinets. We would recommend on both sides. We use them all the time. One side is our cups, one side is our provisions. You can see a whole galley tour of a Jeanneau 1095 in this video. Check it out after you watch this whole one so you know what options to be thinking about. The second option we view as imperative on Jeanneau 1095 would be the cabinets inside the master stateroom. So there's port and starboard upper cabinets that allow plenty of storage both for clothing, other provisions if you need it. So that's an option that you really want to try and have on board. On the starboard side, because of the offset cabin, the cabinets are actually a little bit deeper, about 12-14 inches deeper, and on the port side they're a little shallower. They're probably 6 to 8 inches depending on where on that side. But getting that option allows you to have all your storage for your clothing up in the master cabin, and the cabinets in the salon allow you to have provisions for a longer trip and to just have it stowed and organized so you don't have bags around. So highly recommend those 2 options. And the third option that we really enjoy, use all the time, it's the bow cushions. Really cushions all over the boat, but the bow cushions allow you to have a space, particularly when we're out with our kids. They're up there hanging out, they're jumping over the railing, hopping in the water. It's a place for kids to hang out while we're hanging out in the aft cockpit reading. We've had plenty of times where we've been oblivious and horses have come by or dolphins have come by and the kids come running up because they're out looking at the horizon, looking forward while we're reading books in the aft cockpit. But the cushions really give you that space where you can spread out with people on board. So we like those bow cushions. We store those in the third cabin. This third small cabin has a refrigerator, some storage. We use it mostly for pillow storage, and it's access to the AC, one of the through-hole fittings, one of those compartments. Safety and livability, those set of options are just the start. It's really the baseline of what we look for in a Jeanneau 1095. What we really love about the boat is the versatility of having these options. But next, we're gonna look more into those necessities when we think of our longer trips of going to the Bahamas, going to the intercoastal, and really making the boat a livable, enjoyable, year-round boat for us in North Florida, or multi-season boat throughout the country. When you're thinking through the options on a boat, you want to work with someone that's going to help figure out what's the right boat, what's the right setup for you, not just sell you a boat. We really appreciate how Dunbar Yachts helped us figure out what was the right boat for us and a lot of the right setup and equipment to have the boat that we would enjoy. Dunbar Yachts is giving the access to the other 1095s so that we can share some of that experience. It's what we wish we'd done or wish we'd done different, and we appreciate that they're presenting this video so we can share that knowledge with other people and giving us the access to these other boats.
If you're looking for a Jeanneau powerboat, check out their site. They helped us. I know they can help you too.
Where the 1095 really starts to shine are some of those options that set it apart and give you comfort and enjoyment on those longer trips. And the first of those is the air conditioning. Air conditioning for us was a necessity, and we realized we use it more than we thought because we use it in the summer and the winter. And what we didn't expect, we thought we'd use it overnight trips, but we use it on day trips as well. Sometimes in the middle of summer, it's just too damn hot in Florida, so we'll anchor out, spend the morning on the water, and midday we'll turn on the AC, spend an hour or two inside cooling off because it's in the high 90s or hotter, and then go back out and enjoy the water. So you can sleep on board. The AC is really nice for that. You can spend time on board in the middle of a hot day, which is one of our favorite things to do, reading on the salon couch when it's out. Or you have that for the heat in the winter. So it's a year-round boat for us in North Florida. The second necessity that really stuck out to us is the generator. The generator allows you to have the AC running when you're away from the dock. It allows you to spend the night anchored out, so you have your power, your lights, your fridge. You don't have to worry about any of those when you have everything running with the generator. Without the generator, you'd only have the AC at the dock, and really we get the most use out of it and the most enjoyment spending the night out on board. One of our favorite spots is Brick Hill River. You can check out this video on it. We love to go there, anchor out together. It's serene, you're in the middle of nowhere, and that's really one of the great things about this boat. You can go places and do things together and relax and enjoy it. And if it's hot, you have the AC on. If it's cold, you have the heat on. And when it's just right, you have everything open. After the AC and generator, there's our solar panels. The solar panel allows us to have our fridges running when the generator's off or we're not on shore power, and allows our lights to be charged. So we don't have to be running the generator all the time. We're not going to drain them down under basic use. So we can have the generator off sometimes and have that serenity when we're out for hours at a time. And I hate to say it, after one or two of the storms, I have forgotten to turn our shore power back on, and the solar panels have kept the fridges cool, so we didn't lose any of that all-important beer to my neglect. We mentioned the fridges. We have 2 fridges on board. So there's one in the galley and there's one down in one of the cabins. Having 2 fridges on board allows us to have plenty of provisions when we go on longer trips. We've gone to the Bahamas, we've gone on the intracoastal waterways to South Florida. Having those fridges allows us to have the provisions and everything we want on board, because then we can just stock up and enjoy it. And then finally, another one of those options that you probably don't think about, but we found to be pretty important, is the freshwater tank for the head. That has 2 benefits. One, your head doesn't smell as bad when it's freshwater instead of the saltwater intake, and there's one less through-hull fitting, so you don't have to have a through-hull fitting that brings in salt water. I love to eliminate anything going through the hull if we can, so having the freshwater tank smells better, and it allows us to have one less through-hull fitting. In the comments, if you have any other questions about the options on a Jeanneau 1095, our opinion of them, we'll answer them to the best of our ability based on owning a Jeanneau 1095 for 3 years and crawling around lots of other people's boats to see how they have them set up, the options they have, what they like about them from talking to other boat owners. If you want to learn more about the Jeanneau 1095, you can check out our playlist that tells you all about our experience owning a Jeanneau 1095. You can see we've been using it for years and really enjoy the boat. There's a few options that I thought were important that were probably not that important, or ones that I'm just not sure about. The first of those was going with the propane versus the electric cooktop. I still feel I'm torn between the two. The propane allows you to cook without the generator on, so you're not drawing from the power or the batteries, but you have to worry about another fuel source. We've gone 26 times with our small pony bottle. We've cooked 26 meals with that pony bottle before we got it filled. It did not run out. We've had plenty of opportunities to use the propane tank, but it's just one more fuel to worry about as opposed to the electric. The downside of the electric is you have to have the generator on if you're offshore when you're cooking, and it's just nice to have that silence. There's a reason I wish I had a stronger inverter so I could cook my coffee without the generator on. But if I need to turn the generator on to cook my coffee, might as well have the generator on to cook my breakfast. My conclusion is I wouldn't change it, but don't feel as strongly about the propane versus the electric as when we purchased the boat. Second thing I'm torn on is the third cabin cushion. We have the cushion, but we never use that cabin as a place to sleep. It's a place for storage, and it's a place if we have multiple people on for suitcases, for luggage. But you can't fully clog up that area with luggage because you need to crawl through to the aft to have an access panel to open the seacock for the AC, and when we do our engine checks, we'll go back and check that compartment. So we don't want to have it closed away. Some people don't have the cushion, just use the area for storage. You still need to crawl back, so it all depends on your knees, I guess, whether you have that cushion or not. A third area that's an interesting debate is the leather versus the fabric in the salon. I actually really like the leather. It's not something our boat, it was available, it didn't have it. When I see the leather, I'm like, that's a nice option. If I was gonna look at a new boat, I might really consider the leather in the salon. One thing to be aware of, if you have the convertible salon table, that the cushions that go on that are going to be the fabric like the beds as opposed to leather like the salon. It's not a real issue, but something to be conscious of. But I kind of like the leather. It's one of those we didn't really think of, but I kind of might think about it.
Another option to mention is the retractable sun awning on the 1095. It's not electric like on some of the other boats currently, so it can be moved out of the way or extended, but it's done manually.
One issue that you want to be aware of is that the arms, the frame, goes into the cabin, so that takes a little bit of the storage space. There's not a cabinet in the upper port side of the salon, and on the starboard, it goes in the cabinet, so it's just something to be aware of from a space standpoint, but it allows you to pull it out, and it can be retractable, folds into place. So we'll just stow this away. I like having the one set in place so I never have to worry about it, but this is an option for some people that may be interested in it.
Finally, the option we get asked about most often: flybridge or coupe. The flybridge is spacious and radically expands the outdoor entertaining area with that sun pad and table, and running the boat from the flybridge is always a joy. Now, we chose the coupe because we wanted to maximize our range and the stability for crossing to the Bahamas, and it gives us the solar option and storage for the dinghy. But man, sometimes I see that flybridge and I have a lot of envy for that space and the ability to hang out from that vantage point.
Before we talk about the 6 items that we wish we had on our Jeanneau 1095 but don't, I want to talk about the one thing that we got that I don't think we need, and that's the aft sun pad. For us, with the sun pad, you have to have the bench all the way back, and it's an insert. It's nice, it's a very nice seating area, opens up a lot of space, but we were heading out at low tide, bench all the way back, so I couldn't raise the engines all the way. It got a little bit shallow. Instinctively, I raised the engines just to be safe. I raised them into the back of the bench, breaking the cowling and breaking a hinge right after we'd bought the boat, and been warned multiple times that you don't want to raise the engines to the back of the bench. Total user error on my part. Talked about a lot of options. The ones we got that we love, the ones that we got that we're not sure about, some we saw that we're not sure about. Let's talk about the 6 options we wish we did get on our 1095 but didn't. And we're on a 2024 blue-hulled 1095 that has a lot of the things that we love on board that we wish we had, that I think about potentially upgrading in some cases. The first one, if we were reordering the boat, I'd get the zip wake trim tabs instead of the Lenco manual ones. Zip wakes are nice because they automatically adjust the tab. You can see on this one out of the water, they just go down, they basically dip down to adjust the trim on either side. They do it automatically. I feel it'd be a lot easier for other people to run the boat if we had the zip wake trim tab so they could just focus on navigating as opposed to also trimming the boat. The second thing I wish we'd gotten and we thought about is underwater lights. The underwater lights just give an ambiance when you're on the water, particularly in clear water in the Bahamas, in South Florida, where it's just really cool to have the fish lights that comes up at night. You can see there on the stern, on this blue-hulled 2024 1095, they're blue lights. During daytime, they're bright enough to see them. And on this new 2024 that's in the process of being commissioned, you can see right where they're placed. They're just on the stern. They provide illumination. They're really a cool option. I don't know why I like them, but it's one of those ones I keep thinking about upgrading. Number 3, I would have had a plug that was on an inverter in the salon, particularly one by the helm station, so that you could use the galley, not have to turn on the generators to charge an iPad or to brew a cup of coffee. So one outlet that I could run the Starlink, that I could run the coffee maker. That's one thing I wish that I had done. And a 4th thing that I've added to my list today, being on this boat, is the night vision camera. The night vision camera on this boat, when we were looking at it, it's a really cool option when you're coming in at night and gives you greater visibility. Part of it, I don't love the light that we have on. I think it's an important safety device. I probably want to get a brighter one now, looking at other people's 1095s and the way they're set up. But the night vision also could be an option because that allows you to come in and out in the dark. So that's something I might consider, that before looking at other people's 1095s, I probably wouldn't have even thought of. Number 5 would be a mounted Starlink. When we purchased our boat, Starlink was not really an option on Marine yet. It's been expanded since. I have a Starlink on the boat, but it's not mounted, so I have to pull it in and out. If I was purchasing a new boat, I'd have the mount for the Starlink like this boat does, so that you have access to it. It's in place, so when you want to use it, you have it available. That also I'd have paired with the inverter, so we could turn it on when we needed it and not have to have our generator running to run the Starlink when we're anchored off. Number 6 would be a joystick and the autopilot. We don't have either on board our boat. Of those two, they're often paired. The autopilot is the one that's most interest to me, to work with the Garmin, to be able to chart our route, to be able to, when we're going offshore, have a straight route, and if someone else is operating the boat, running the boat, while I'm doing something else, I know that we're on the right heading, we're not getting pulled off course. So the autopilot's something that I'd really have, but I'd also consider a joystick. It would be a nice option for family members to help them with docking. This boat is very easy to dock with the twin engines and with a bow thruster. It's a really easy boat to dock, but I think there can be some intimidation, and having a joystick where we could get that in and out would be helpful for family members. On the 1095s with the Mercury, it's a slightly different joystick. It's a knob that moves rather than a joystick. So you have the same functionality, but laid out a little differently. The Mercury does not have the zip wake, so it doesn't have the automatic trim tabs as the Lenco, like our boats. The Mercury, different engines than ours, it's a little different setup. The interface is also a little different than the Yamaha one. You're able to kind of flip through the screens. There's some nice intuitive graphics on there. I'm a big fan of the graphics. I don't know which is better or which is worse. I'm happy with the Yamahas. People that have Mercuries are happy with the Mercuries. If you're looking for a Jeanneau powerboat, we recommend Dunbar Yachts, because it's where we got our boat, and they helped us set it up the right way, and they help other people figure out what's right for them. You want to work with a dealer that's going to help you figure out what's right for you. That's why we recommend Dunbar Yachts. If you want to check out a tour of our Jeanneau Merry Fisher 1095 Sweetest Thing, check out this video here. If you want to see other boat tours, check out the playlist. Until next time, have fun, be safe, be happy.